Hey everybody, it's the Trout and welcome to another episode of the Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. When you think about the capital of country music, you probably think about Nashville. And if you think about where most of country music started, was probably in the southern part of the United States. That's where we always think about, but there are great artists in other parts of the United States. And one of them is the one I interviewed today who resides in the state of Maine. And you think, Maine is country artist? Absolutely. Her name is Lexi James. Lexi's been doing it for a few years now, but really just getting her start, and her start's been great. She's already won several country music awards up in that part of the country, and her band travels and tours that part of the country and will continue to do so as she brings out new music that she wrote and some great songs that they can perform out live. Lexi talks about her life when she started, what drove her to becoming a great artist that she is now, and what she has planned for the future, including, get this, a degree in psychology. A musician that's a psychologist. Think about that. Anyway, I love the story. It's about a great country artist and what drives her to be successful. And if you want to know more about that, stay tuned, because that is next on The Trout Show.
Sunshine on my skin. It's been a cold winter, ready for warmer weather. I got a case of the cabin fever. Oh baby, I need to get out of town. I need 4 wheels on the ground, vitamin C. You and me got to get the top down and go.
The next 12 months, what would you like to do? I mean, I know you just released a song, but give me a short-term goal and long-term goal. What's your plans?
Short-term goal. This year, I really want to work on building my social media following, because, you know, it's a lot of work, and it can be kind of a pain at times trying to juggle writing and performing and doing everything all together. But the social media part of it's so important. And while there are some negative things about technology and social media, it's a great tool for artists, especially for independent artists, to get their music out to people who would never have heard of them otherwise.
Right.
So the social media is really important to me this year. I want to write as much as I can, and release a few more songs. So just keep trucking, just keep trying to build up the following a little bit and get my name out there.
I think one of the things that I think is interesting about you is the fact that where you live is not the country area. Not, but it does tell you, it lends the fact that more people do like country than many people think.
Yes.
And, everyone thinks you have to be in Nashville or down the South. That's not true. I mean, and that's not true at all. So when I look at you and listen to you, I go, okay, it's probably, I know this sounds funny, it's probably better to be almost a big fish in a little pond for a while than to be a tiny little fish in a giant pond.
Yep.
One of the things that I see about you is the fact that, and I looked at your touring schedule and all that stuff, you're probably, if you haven't already done it, you probably already got a name in your area along the northeastern coast. But your ultimate goal, I assume, would be to go to Nashville and get a record deal, or, do something like that. I assume that's what you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, and I love that you brought that up, because for so long it was like, you can't make it in Nashville if you're not in Nashville. You can't make it living anywhere else. And you're so right. It's like when you move down there, it's like when you go to LA and every waitress is an actor.
That's
And
right.
it's the same thing in Nashville. And while it helps you to connect with people maybe a little bit more easily because you're around it a lot, you find more people to write with and collaborate with,
Yeah.
it's not necessary. I've heard stories about plenty of artists who have lived in Georgia or Florida or Philadelphia who have made it and been discovered through TikTok and YouTube and all of these things. So it's not necessary. And I do think that it's showing that you can build a following regionally is is attractive to booking agents and
Sure.
record labels and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, ideally, that's one of my big life goals is to be able to tour around the world and get a record deal and all this stuff. And for a while, I got a little bit disillusioned with music because the industry can be tough and
Yep. It
people
eats
can
people.
it eats people. It does. And so I did take a break for, I don't know. I didn't really take a break. I mean, I still performed and everything, but I kind of just wasn't thinking about it as a career for a while. And then after I took a little bit of a break, I just had this realization that I wasn't done with it. I didn't want to be done with it. Music
Right.
is what feels right to me. So, and it's just something that I've always wanted. And I don't think that with the technology today, being in Nashville, living there is the only way to make it.
Tell me a little bit how you got started. I mean, did you play an instrument or are you always a vocalist? How did that all come about?
Well, I always loved to sing. Um, I was always that kid who was like putting on concerts for my family. And I just was kind of enamored with the whole idea of it from a really young age. But I didn't start um, like performing and thinking of it in more of a career aspect until actually my stepdad came into the picture. He's been around my whole life, but he's actually the bass player in my band, and he's the one who looked at me and was like, you have talent, because I always just thought of it as something that I loved. I never thought of it as like a career path.
Right,
My
right.
mom has always said, I listened to her. I thought she was great, but I always thought that I was just being a biased mom. Like a biased mom just thinks that their kid's great.
Yeah.
But then my stepdad was like, no, you're really good. You can do this. And if you want help, I'll help you. So he got me into singing with bands that he was in. And then when I graduated from high school, built a band around me, and I took some time off from college and have been pursuing music. And when I think I was like 16, I started learning how to play guitar. So I play a little bit of guitar, but I've always been
Obviously, yeah, I saw you play.
mainly a
Yeah,
vocalist.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So what does your stepfather play?
He plays bass.
Oh, he plays. Okay, I thought that's what you
Yep,
said.
yep.
Was he a country guy? Did he like country?
No, he was for his entire life. He's been like a big blues guy. A lot
Oh,
of blues, a lot of classic rock, like Southern rock, that type stuff.
yeah.
And he got into a band with a regional artist up here. I think maybe the early 2000s. He started to get into country. And that was around the same time that my older sister was in high school, and she bought Tim McGraw's Live Like You Were Dying album. And that was the first country album that I listened to top to bottom. And that's when I was kind of like, wow, this is cool. I like this.
Were you singing country or doing covers? What were you doing at the time?
It was all country covers at that
Okay.
time. Yep.
So you decided that you would go the route of the country than the pop
Hmm.
side
Yeah.
because obviously the Tim McGraw thing and all that.
Hmm.
And that's a learned skill too, because the fact that that's different,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And I think it's funny when I hear people from Sweden, yeah, and then they start singing, "Oj, oj," and you're like, wait a minute, what happened here? But that's just that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're in an area in the country we said earlier that's not a big country place,
No,
so
it's
it's not like, yeah.
it's becoming more popular here. I mean, over the past, I'd say like 6 to 10 years, it's really becoming a big thing up here. But it's definitely no Nashville.
Tell me a little bit about the band. Does it have a
Mhm.
name or is it just Lexi's band?
So it's it's Lexi James and Wild Heart.
Oh, Wild Heart. Okay, that's kind of a cool
Yeah.
name.
So we are bass, drums, keyboards, uh, electric guitar, and then another member who's acoustic, electric, and backup vocals, and then
Cool.
me. So yeah.
And do you, I looked at your list. Do you try to perform as much as you can, or just, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know the scene up there, whether, I assume there's plenty of places to play, but
Yeah.
I live in Dallas. It's, it's kind of a big place there's a lot of places to play
Yeah.
here.
Well, the good thing about the part of, like I was saying, the part of Maine that I'm in is that it's that section where Maine, New Hampshire, and Mass all kind of meet. So you can go to Maine, you can go to New Hampshire, you can go to Massachusetts. I mean, you can even go to like Connecticut. It's not super
Not that
far.
far, is it?
Oh, yeah. So, I play, there's a lot of places around here that are just strictly country bars. I mean, there's a place in Manchester that
Mm.
is a country bar, in Windham, Maine, that's a country bar. Even in Boston, there's a few of them too. So, but I've been influenced by a lot. So we do mainly country, but we also throw in some pop stuff, some rock stuff, some of my
Sure.
original stuff. So we try to mix it up because as much as I love country and it's where I feel the most authentic, weirdly enough, as a person who grew up listening to mainly pop until I was in like middle school,
Right.
I just think that good music is good music.
Correct.
So yeah, and I think you can play any good song and people will appreciate it. So we try to keep it interesting, I guess you could say.
I think what's interesting too, where you live, I never really thought about it. It's so close to everything else. It's kind of like being in the UK.
Yeah.
You just go here, and then it's like an hour here, and then 2 hours here,
Yep.
which it makes it kind of a nice. So let's talk a little bit about your songwriting. When was the first? How old were you when you wrote your first song?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I was kind of jotting down ideas in like a notebook from a young age. But I think when I really tried to write my first song, I was probably like 15, right after I started learning how to play guitar, strumming a few chords. I think I wrote my first one when I was like 15 or 16, and it was probably like 7 minutes long or something ridiculous like that.
Do you still remember what it was?
You know what? I try to, and I think at that time I was so kind of insecure about myself as a singer and
Yeah,
as a songwriter that I didn't
yeah.
record it because I didn't want to hear it. So I kind of remember generally, but I really don't remember it, and it kind of makes me mad that I don't remember exactly what it was.
Well, I think probably I know from a personal experience. My mom recorded me on a reel-to-reel tape when I was like 10.
Oh my
I
gosh.
sound like Mickey Mouse, and I don't know where that tape exists, but I'm glad I don't know where it exists.
Yeah,
But
right.
so I was singing and playing guitar. I started when I was 12, so I wrote my first song in
Okay.
eighth grade. I kind of remember that, and I still remember getting in front of people and they go, "Hey, here's the original by," and I've been a lead guitar player my whole life. Even then, they would come over and tell me, "Turn your amp down, Rick." So in the eighth grade, so it's like I've set myself up for the whole thing.
It starts young. It
It
starts young.
starts young. And and I never ask people this, and I want to ask you this, but because and I know as songwriters, people want to know, where does that come from? You can't explain it.
No.
You can't tell everybody. When did that moment though, when you said, "Oh, I'm actually a songwriter. This is really good." Do you remember what song it was that you went, "Oh, I think this is a pretty good tune"? Did you play it for somebody and say, "Oh, we like that," or
There have been a couple. I mean, I think I really, because there are still some times when I go through like little writer's block
Oh,
phases.
yeah, we all do that. Yeah.
It's frustrating, but I think the first time I felt like a real songwriter is the first time I ever wrote a song all by myself that I was really, really proud of. And it's actually a song that I released. It's called Your Mama and Me. And it was a song that I wrote. I was I was spending some time with my nephew, and my nephew, he's going to be 6 next month, and he has autism, and
Mm,
he's nonverbal. And I remember just looking at him one day because kids with autism just teach you so much about life and about patience and about things that are really
mhm.
important. I remember just looking at him one day and thinking, I just loved him so much. I couldn't imagine how much I was going to love my own kids someday.
Mm,
And so I got this idea for a song that's from the perspective of like a father getting ready to walk his daughter down the aisle and looking back on all these moments in his daughter's life, all these moments that, he thought he couldn't love her more
right.
and couldn't imagine what she was going to be and couldn't wait to see her grow up. And I wrote this whole song by myself. It wasn't even from, I mean, it was inspired by my nephew, but it wasn't from my personal experience, which was kind of shocking too. I didn't think I would write a whole song not from my personal experience. So
Yeah.
after finishing that, I really I was very proud. It's still one of my proudest songs because it was the first song that I wrote by myself that I was like, this feels like a songwriter wrote it, not just an artist trying to write.
Pretending to be a songwriter.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Do you remember when you recorded it?
Yes, I do. That was one actually that we recorded in my basement. It was like 2021, I think. So it was still like kind of COVID-ish times.
Right.
And so we weren't playing a ton of shows. And so we were trying to get together and record and just release some stuff. And so got together with my band because that's my whole live band that you hear on all of the stuff that's been released since like 2020.
Okay.
And got together and everybody came down and recorded separate parts. And then my drummer mixed it all. And it was cool. It's kind of cool to, it's amazing to be in a studio, but it's kind of cool that with the technology today, you can kind of record and make music wherever, wherever is kind of convenient.
Yeah, that's true. Do you remember how you felt when you heard it finally mixed?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a very proud moment, and I'm very hard on myself in a lot of ways in my life. I tend to kind of
Yeah.
not think I'm good enough.
Everybody has that. Everybody has
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we all
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
And it was one of those rare moments where I listened to it and I was just very proud and felt like I had really grown as not only an artist but a songwriter. So it was a really cool moment.
And you know what's interesting about it, as a songwriter myself and recording artist, you can't you can't tell people what that feels like.
Mm-mm. No.
It's like I tell people, I said, because it came out of your brain. It just, and the next thing people are listening to it and you're like, how did this all happen? I mean, I sit here and listen to my stuff. I just released a new album and it's all instrumental. And I sit there and I go, where did this all come from?
Yeah.
And I wish people could feel that. It's kind of like the same thing I tell people, if you could feel that stage presence that you get from a crowd that loves you.
Yeah.
And as an artist, you only understand that. But as a songwriter, I'm still amazed at people that I love producing because I, just working with people. But when it's all finished, you're sitting there listening to it. It's like you did when that song came out and you listen to it and you're like, I can't really, in one way aspect of it, I can't believe this is me doing all this and all these people are doing it.
Yeah. It's like you can't believe that those ideas came through you and like where did they come from?
We're all funnels.
Yeah. It's like real life magic in some ways.
It is. And if you get the really big magic, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
This song that you just released,
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that song.
So this is a song that I wrote actually a few years ago. I wrote it with this awesome songwriter. His name is Steve Vito. And it was the first time we ever wrote together, which was really cool. And he was like, hey, I have this track that I came up with. I think could be pretty cool. And he played it for me and I was like, that is really cool. And so we just kind of started humming melodies and talking about ideas, and the song wrote itself pretty easily, which, most songwriters know. Sometimes you go into a songwriting session and it's like pulling teeth. You can't think of anything. Sometimes you come up with nothing. Sometimes you don't gel with a person. And especially that first time can be a little awkward. And sometimes it just goes really well. And it just happened to be one of those things that goes really well, that went really well. And, it was at a time when I was writing a lot. So I think I was just kind of collecting all of these songs. And I don't know, it got lost in the shuffle. And then I found it again, probably like a year and a half ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this song, and played it for my band and everybody loved it. So we decided to just cut that one. It was kind of cool how it came back around.
Did you did you, when you do these songs,
Mhm,
obviously send to the band and say, here's the song.
mhm.
Do you involve from a lot? I'm not talking about the mixing and engineering and all that stuff, but are you pretty much involved with, I'd like to have this here? I mean, can we have a bass guitar here? Or you kind of let the band kind of fill in their parts or whatever?
You know what? There, something that I've always kind of struggled with is I have kind of general ideas of how I hear things in my head, and sometimes I'm just not great at communicating exactly. So they're really good at being patient with me trying to explain things and trying things, but I'm really lucky to be surrounded by such talented guys, and
Hmm.
I kind of send it out to them, like an acoustic guitar and a vocal, send it out to them, and everybody kind of comes up with their own parts, and then we get together and we play it, and then everybody's really included. I mean, it's great because there are like no egos in my band either. So somebody could be like, I really don't like that. Can you try something else? And it's like, okay, cool, try something else. So everybody comes up with ideas and kind of spitballs off of each other. My stepdad and my bass player, he's actually our musical director too. So he's really good
Right.
with getting a good feel and really coming up with cool ideas and helping me to communicate things when I'm having a difficult time kind of explaining things. So it's really a big team effort, which is really, really cool to have those guys to be able to do that.
It would be interesting if we could actually take what's in our brain and just kind of lay it out to people.
Yes. Yes.
That's the hardest thing about it because you go in and you sit there and go, I hear this and I hear that, and you're like, I can't really tell you.
Yeah.
I wish you could mind melt me and go, okay, I
I
got
wish
you.
I could play you what I'm hearing right now.
But
Then
that
you
happens to
understand.
everybody. That
Yeah.
happens to everybody. I mean, and then when you get your style, people kind of know what you like.
Yep.
But it's
Yep.
nice that you have a group of people that you don't have to worry about saying, I don't really like that, try something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we all know, I mean, and we all talk about it a lot. It's not about showcasing one person or the other. It's about getting the right sound and the right feel for the song. You want it to
Yep.
sound the best that it can. And, it's we're all open to like trying things, which is really cool because, as a lot of us know, some musicians can have very large egos and be very difficult to work
What?
with. Ooh,
No.
no, no egos in music.
No, no, not at all. No, no, no.
No.
You've worked, according to what I've read about you, you've worked with some or been around some fairly famous people working with them, haven't you?
Yes, I mean, I've been really lucky. Probably one of the highlights of music for me so far was I got to open for Charlie Daniels.
God
And
rest him. God rest his soul.
I know. And it was this benefit thing that he did in Florida that he used to do in Florida every December. And I got to be a part of it. And then at the end of the night, he invites all of the opening acts up on stage with him while he does Amazing Grace.
Ah,
And I was standing next to him and just standing up there, I was like, I'm standing on stage with Charlie Daniels, which is insane. But then he leaned over to me. I have a video of this too. It's so funny. He leans over to me and he goes, do you know this song? I said, I know the first verse. And he goes, sing it. And I was like, yes, sir.
oh wow. He
So,
just leaned right into you, didn't he?
yeah. And so I got to sing on stage with Charlie Daniels, which was one of the coolest moments of my life, for sure.
I think his belt buckle showed up before he did, didn't it? His belt buckle came in and then he was behind it.
But he was such a nice guy. He was so nice and he put on such an incredible show. And I've been able to work with some really cool producers, and I write all my own songs now, but in the past I've cut songs that other people have written, and on one of my
Right.
albums, so I was able to cut a song that Carrie Underwood had co-written, and I was able to cut a couple of songs that Ingrid Andress
Hmm.
had co-written. So I've gotten to be a part of some really cool things and work with some really cool people. I mean, work with some of the session guys down there who play on everything.
Oh yeah, they're unbelievable, aren't they?
It's the most insane thing to watch.
If you could sit next to somebody, living or gone away,
Mm.
Who's your biggest admirer? I mean, what's the big artist that you like that you said, man, I'd like to meet that person and visit with them about their music career?
I mean, it's the first person I ever heard who made me want to sing, not just country, but who just blew me away. And I just heard her and said, I want to do that, was Whitney Houston.
Oh, wow.
Um, she was, I mean, like I said, I grew up listening to a lot of stuff, but as a kid, I listened to a lot of Whitney. And I remember literally laying in bed and crying when I found out that she had passed away.
Yeah,
Um, and she just inspired me so much vocally. But I mean, I'm also from a songwriting perspective. I mean, there's kind of different people for different reasons. Like
sure.
vocally, Whitney Houston. From a songwriting perspective, I don't know, maybe probably like Hillary Lindsey. I mean, she's about to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and she's just unreal. Um, from an artistry perspective, I love Keith Urban
Mm.
um, and Carrie Underwood. I think they're so great. So there's a bunch of different people for different reasons. It's
So
hard
who
to.
would you like to have on, who would you like to bring up on stage and perform with you? With it Big Keith?
It would be Keith for sure. I've seen him 3 times live, and it's just it's amazing every single time. I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's like I hear stories about some people who go see somebody live and they can be great one time, not so great another time.
Yeah.
And so it's always really impressive to me when somebody is consistently amazing too.
Well,
And
there,
I,
Keith is at a level. I mean, there's a level there. You know, they have to perform at a level because
mhm.
one bad show, and you talk about getting on social media,
Yeah,
everybody be on social media.
yep,
Oh, I saw him. He sucked last night. You know,
yeah,
whatever. He was out of tune or something. They can't
yep.
afford to do that. And
Which is
and,
it's
go ahead.
wild. It's just wild because we're all human, so we all have off nights or
Sure you
make
do.
mistakes, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the whole negative part of technology and social media. It's like you make one mistake, and all of a sudden, it's like you're terrible, you failed. Like oh, one bad show, he's done, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just wild. But yeah,
Well,
he's
no, I,
amazing.
you know, you're right. Everybody's human, and that's the thing about it. Because when I talk to people at tour all the time, it's brutal. I mean, they love it, but it's still a lot of work. So you have your tour set up for this year.
Hmm.
Somebody still has to make all the arrangements,
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yep.
and you're the artist that they're coming to see, and you're the one that goes, okay, where are we having breakfast? What do we eat? It's
And
like one sound check, we got to go.
exactly, and it's even more simpler. Like even simpler than that is like, I mean, we're including me, there's 6 of us in the band, and we're not a big production by any means. And
No,
it
but
can still
still,
take a couple of hours to set up and get everything going. And I think people don't, think you just go up and plug in and play, and it's not, it's much more involved
that's in
than people
computers.
realize.
Plug and play is in computers, not
Yeah,
not when you play out.
exactly.
And you know that wears on you after a while.
Oh yeah.
And but if things go the way they're supposed to, as soon as you hit that first note and people go whatever they do, then you're like, okay, I'm ready to go again.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I don't I pride myself on being very authentic, and I don't think of myself as um having like an alter ego on stage. I know some people do, and I get
Hmm.
it because it's a very different world up there.
Hmm.
It's very strange because in some ways I feel more like myself on stage. It's almost like I feel like it's the place where I can be the most authentic, and it's the place where I'm most confident, and it's the place where I have the most fun. So as much as I love writing and recording and everything and all the pieces of it that go along with it, being on stage and performing is my absolute favorite part of the entire music section of my life.
And you know,
And
and that's some people like that, and some people don't want to do that.
yeah,
You know, and I think what you
preference for
said,
sure.
there is a moment though that you have to turn it on.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like a switch that has to come
yeah,
on.
Yep.
And it's like, I used to tell my band, I said, okay, let's go rock and roll. That's it.
Yep.
Let's go. Because there's that moment and you just got to hit the first note. But I
Yep.
think that's cool that you enjoy performing because that really, even though I know you enjoy writing and songwriting and recording, you
Hmm.
get off on the crowd,
Yeah.
which that's what most people that I talk to that are very successful, that's what they do.
Hmm.
They want to just perform. The
Yep.
writing the songs, going to the studio is important. You got to do that. But and that's how you pick up fans. And I think those people that relate with their fans there come in because every time you go to a new town, you're trying to get new people.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you do an out of town gig,
Hmm.
do you notice, I'm just curious, do you notice your fan base on Instagram and some of the other, what are you on? You're on TikTok, I assume, and
Oh yeah.
Instagram.
Yep.
Do you see that start going this way? People start
Yeah. Yeah.
following you?
I mean, it depends on the show. And sometimes, some shows there are more people than others.
Sure.
And so, sometimes I gain a few people and sometimes it's a lot more than that. But you definitely see that after shows, which is really cool because it's that confirmation of like, okay, I got out there and I did a good job and I had people interested enough that they wanted to continue to follow me instead of just stand here and listen to this show and then move on to the next thing in their life. So that's a really cool moment to go on there and see other followers kind of build up.
Well, and they usually tell other people. When people go and you look the next day, you're going, okay, how many's doing this? Oh, look, I got a few more followers.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's two, you're going like, I got two more that I didn't have.
exactly. You build a fan base one person at a time, you know? And I think people look too much at numbers and the millions and the tens of millions. And it's like, yes, that's important. And you have to have a certain, you have to be in a certain range to be, considered, I don't want to say successful, but,
Right.
you know, to make a living out of it and to be considered for things like labels and booking agents and all that kind of stuff. But it all comes down to it's one person at a time.
Your group gets bigger, in other words, people that like you. It's
Mhm.
because of the talent. And of course, that boosts your drive to do even more
Yes. Yes.
because that's what we do it for. And most people that I've talked to would probably, if they could make ends meet, they would just play anyway because they love performing, which is
Yeah.
exactly what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I think, I'm currently in school right now. I'm going to school for psychology. Music is my number one, but I had an opportunity to go back to school and I was like, you know what? Why not? I've always been interested in psychology. And it is a fascinating field and I love it. But if it ever came down to me getting a career in the psych field, I wouldn't ever stop performing because it's so therapeutic. And like I said, I mean, I feel the most like myself when I'm on stage, when I'm doing anything musical, when I'm out performing, is when I feel the most like me. So I don't think, even if music didn't become my career or I didn't make it big or whatever you want to call it, I don't think I'd ever stop just because I don't think I could. I don't think it's
No,
in.
you won't. And I have to ask this, how do you feel about that? You're a psychology major. How do you feel about that?
Yes.
But I think the thing about it is there's nothing wrong with that,
Hmm.
being able to do both.
Yep.
So how long will it be before you finish that up?
So I will have my bachelor's in October 2025, and then I'm going to go for my master's. So yeah, but I mean, like I'm not for a while when I had to, mentally kind of take a break from pursuing music as a career, and I needed to
Right.
like step back. I was very driven to finish my degree in psychology as quickly as I could. But now I'm kind of like I love music. That's really what I want to do. And I'm not I mean, I want to get it done, but I don't want to rush through everything in life and make myself crazy and stressed and add too
No.
much to my plate. It's like I want to enjoy my life. And school's great. I feel not overwhelmed by it, which is great. And it gives me time to focus on music and do all of those things that I want to do. So I have a good balance of it right now, and I don't want to disrupt that.
What would
So
you like to do with your psychology degree?
I've been kind of thinking about it lately, been trying to figure out exactly what I want to do, but I'm thinking some sort of like clinical counselor, licensed clinical counselor, something along those lines, but kind of still exploring all the different options.
Did the autistic nephew or whoever it was have something to do with that? That you'd want to help with kids?
You know what? I don't think I could. I love kids, but I don't think I could do kids. I
I
think it would,
understand.
I think it takes a special type of person for that.
Oh yeah.
Especially, I think I'm too close to the whole autism and kids with disabilities thing because my niece and my nephew both have autism actually. And it hits a little bit too close to home.
Yeah.
So I think I'd want to do something a little bit different than that.
You'd rather deal with other crazy people. They're not
Yes.
crazy, but people that are crazy.
Yes. Well, we're all a little crazy.
That's true. Well, I just want to tell you, is there something I didn't ask that you want to tell people?
Just check out my socials. I mean, you can hit my website at lexijamesmusic.com. You can get to my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, TikTok, all the things from there.
Do you have the
So,
same handle in X and all those people? Is it the same? OMG,
so
which I think is a cool name, by the way.
thank you. It's kind of a joke from my brother because my brother for a while got into a habit of when he was at my shows would go, "Oh my God, it's Lexi James." So that's where that comes from. I think it's the same on TikTok and Instagram. I think it's different. I think X is maybe Lexi James Music, but
I'll
you can
look
get
it
to it
up.
all from my website too. I have it
Yeah.
all there.
Okay. Well, this has been a real pleasure. I enjoy talking to people like you. I love to see the talent come out and, you know, never know what's going to happen next.
Exactly. Fingers crossed.